Hello, go ahead and pause your screen to complete today's bell work, and then we will get into our lecture on lipids. Lipids are another type of macromolecule, and they are a diverse group of nonpolar hydrocarbons consisting of carbon and hydrogen molecules. Nonpolar hydrocarbons are hydrophobic and are insoluble in water, where hydro means water and phobic means fearing. So these types of molecules do not like water. They are insoluble in water, and they actually will repel water when water is near them. So all lipids have this property. Functions of lipids include long-term energy storage within animals, and they also aid animals in insulating them from their environment. They also aid plants in insulating the plants from their environment and help them protect from changes in weather. Lipids also serve as the building blocks for some hormones based on cholesterol. Cholesterol is a precursor for many hormones, so that is a huge function of lipids because that becomes the chemical signals that we use throughout our body. And lipids are also an important component of cellular membrane. Here are the four important subgroups of lipids: fats and oils, waxes, phospholipids, and steroids. One example in nature of lipids is the fur of aquatic mammals such as the river otter, and it repels water and helps protect these animals from changes in the environment and helps also insulate them in the form of adipose tissue underneath the fur, which helps insulate them and keep them warm. So the first subcategory of lipids are fats, and fats contain two major components, glycerol and fatty acids. So we have a glycerol plus three fatty acids will become triglycerol, or also called triglyceride, and the backbone is formed by these three fatty acids, which undergoes a dehydration synthesis reaction. As you can see, the H in glycerol is going to react with the OH group on the fatty acids to lose water as a byproduct and to form the triglycerol. And water is released, like I said, as a byproduct in the dehydration synthesis reactions, and this allows us to build a more large molecule than the two original ones, as seen in the picture below. One type of fat is a saturated fatty acid, and saturated, you always want to think of saturated meaning it's saturated with hydrogens, or it has the most amount of hydrogens that are physically possible on the molecule. If you remember back to our description in the beginning of our lecture from last time, a carbon can have 4 bonds, and carbons will bond with hydrogen when they have excessive bonds to spare. So with all of these carbons in a line, single bonded together, they are able to maximize the amount of times carbon is bound to hydrogen. So it saturates this molecule with hydrogen. One common factor of saturated fats is they are solids at room temperature. And saturated fat should be limited in your diet. There's a high association of high saturated fatty diets with cardiovascular disease. As you can see, stearic acid is a carbon molecule chain where it ends with a oxygen and an OH group, also called our fats. And this is because we have the long carbon chain with the carboxylic acid group on the end. Carboxylic acid groups are denoted by the double bonded carbon to oxygen and also that same carbon single bonded to an OH group. These are called carboxylic acid groups, and they make up the end of a fatty acid chain. Unsaturated fatty acids contain at least one double bond, and this double bond prohibits carbon from making its fourth bond with hydrogen and instead results in carbon having 1 to 2 to 4 less hydrogens than a saturated fatty acid would. A monounsaturated fat is a fatty acid that contains only one double bond, and this is one type of unsaturated fatty acid. As you can see in this picture denoted above, there is only one double bond. That means it is a monounsaturated fat because it only contains one double bond. A polyunsaturated fat is one that contains more than one double bond between carbons. That's the important note because the O and the OH groups that are off of the last carbon on both of these figures only counts as our carboxylic acid group and does not count as our unsaturated fatty acid. As you can see before, that is a prerequisite to be considered a fat. Trans fats are a type of unsaturated fat, but they have a certain position of their hydrogens in space. So cis bonds are where the hydrogen ends up on the same side of the double bond, whereas trans unsaturated fats occur when the hydrogens end up on opposite sides of the double bond as seen in the picture below. For the oleic acid trans version, the hydrogens are on opposite sides of the double bond. One is facing up and one is facing down. Where you see the cis oleic acid, both hydrogens are pointing up. That denotes that these are a cis oleic acid versus a trans oleic acid. Trans acids have no kinks, and this can be created through hydrogenating oils, and hydrogenating is synthetically placing additional hydrogens on a fat. Foods with trans fat have a high instance of increasing LDL cholesterol in humans, and LDL cholesterol is known as the bad cholesterol, and it has a worse impact on your body than high-density lipoproteins, or HDLs, whereas these are called low-density lipoproteins, or LDLs. Essential fatty acids are required by the body for us to function normally. However, these are types of fats that must be obtained through the diet, as our body cannot synthesize them independently. Omega-3s and omega-6s are both examples of essential fatty acids, and these are commonly found in certain oils and fish products. These fats are heart healthy, and they are known to reduce the risk of heart attack, reduce triglycerides in the blood, and lower blood pressure. They're able to do this by increasing the amount of high-density lipoprotein in your body, which is going to therefore decrease the amount of low-density lipoprotein in your body. One of the other categories of lipids are waxes, and waxes are commonly found on plants and aquatic birds, and they are very good at repelling water. Waxes have a long fatty acid chain plus a long chain of alcohols. And like I said, they are hydrophobic again and prevent water from sticking to the surface of certain plants and animals. The third subtype of lipids are phospholipids. Phospholipids are made through two fatty acids and a glycerol backbone with a phosphate group on the head. The phosphate group on the head is a hydrophilic head, which means it loves water. And the glycerol part is also obtained in the head, which then attaches to two hydrophobic tails which repel water. And these are the saturated fatty acids and the unsaturated fatty acids that create these two long tails. Be sure to remember that phospholipids are created from two fatty acids, a glycerol backbone, and a phosphate group. Phospholipids are unique to the cell membranes of many species and allow for two water or aqueous environments on the inside and the outside of the tail, on the inside and the outside of a cell, which are separated by this phospholipid bilayer. In the middle, these hydrophobic tails are able to be separated from the phospholipid heads because of their hydrophobic properties, and the hydrophilic heads are able to line up due to their common aqueous or hydrophilic component of being attracted to water molecules. The hydrophobic tails are hidden in the middle of the bilayer, where the fatty acids are able to repel the aqueous solutions due to the hydrophilic nature of the phosphate heads. Phospholipids contribute to the dynamic nature of a plasma membrane, allowing substances to enter and exit based on various concentrations from the inside and the outside of the cell. The fourth subcategory of lipids are steroids. Steroids are unique in that they are a closed ring structure composed of 4 linked carbon rings. As you can see in both of these examples, cholesterol and cortisol both have 4 closed and fused rings. Many have a short carbon chained tail. The structure is different from that of other lipids, but it still shares those common properties of hydrophobic in nature. Similar to the other lipids we've discussed in this lecture, steroids are also hydrophobic and water insoluble. Cholesterol is the most common type of steroid, and it is typically embedded into the plasma membrane of cells. Cholesterol is synthesized in the liver of humans, and it is a precursor to many important things throughout the body, including hormones, vitamin D, and bile salts. We will be speaking about proteins in the next lecture. Please stay tuned for the exit ticket shortly after this video. Please pause your video and complete your exit ticket for the day, listed right here. Have a great rest of your day. I look forward to hearing from you all soon.